If molecules needed best friends, I would try every way in the world to be this molecule's best friend. I would do anything that this molecule would want me to do. It wouldn't have to plead, it wouldn't have to beg. It would just simply have to ask because I would want to be on this molecule's good side and I really wouldn't want to make it mad. So, what is so special about this molecule? And what do we call this molecule? And what really is its purpose? Okay, so if I take a look at the structure of this molecule, I see basically it's nonpolar in nature. Okay, I don't see too many polar groups. Now, I do see an OH group, so OH has some free pairs of electrons on it. So I do see some polarity here. And this also has some free pairs of electrons on it. So I could possibly see some polarity there as well. If we have something that's charged, well, that charged species could target that OH group, or it could target that oxygen in the ring. But, as far as polarity goes, that is really the only thing that is polar of the molecule itself. Now, if I take a look at the entire structure, again, this is mainly nonpolar. I see long, fatty carbon tails all the way through here. I see carbon rings here, and I see methyl groups as substituents, which are here. So this is mainly nonpolar. And if it is nonpolar, then that basically means that this is going to be fat soluble. And fat soluble is good news because if I go back and take a look at this lipid bilayer that we talked about in the previous video, we see some polar ends and we see some nonpolar ends. And this molecule can actually squeeze itself into these lipid bilayers and kind of hang out for a while because it is basically non-polar in nature. It is what we call fat soluble. Okay, so what is this molecule called and what does it actually do? Well, this molecule is known as vitamin E. Yeah, that's all that this molecule is. Vitamin E. Vitamin E is going to be classified as a lipid, and that's because it is fat soluble. Remember, we said that it's not really functional groups that drive us to determine whether something is a lipid or not. It's how they behave. What are they soluble in? Some of their chemical properties. And this is classified as a lipid. So vitamin E, I go to the store, I go to the CVS, I go to Walgreens, I go to Walmart, I go down to the vitamin aisle, and I'm going to see a bottle of vitamin E. And I can buy this vitamin E and I can take it home and I can take 2 pills a day and then hopefully I get some health benefits from it. So, what is really the main thing about vitamin E? Well, first off, I want you to understand that vitamin E is not the only name that this can go by. It actually has a more scientific name. It throws people off when we use it because a lot of people they don't really know what's going on when you throw some proper terminology to them. And this is going to be called alpha. So there is a alpha in front. That's kind of that fish symbol that you always see. So there's my alpha, and this is a T in front, and it's tocopherol or tocopherol, depending on how you want to pronounce it and where you want to put the stress in the syllable. But alpha tocopherol is this thing known as vitamin E. That is its more scientific term that we use for it. And tocopherol or vitamin E is of course known as a antioxidant. Now, it's not the only antioxidant, but it is one of the most common antioxidants that we always talk about. And we want to describe what this term antioxidant means. All right, so anti means against, oxidant means oxidation. And when we talk about antioxidants, we are talking about helping prevent the reaction with oxygen in biochemistry. So some of these molecules, these phospholipids, they have groups on them. And these groups can react with O2. And if they react with O2, they begin to break down. And this lipid bilayer, maybe, if that's what we're looking for, begins to start to loosen and begins to weaken. And this could lead to maybe wrinkles around your eyes and wrinkles around the corner of your mouth. And we don't want wrinkles. We want them to go away. So very often, some people supplement their diet with vitamin E, and vitamin E is an antioxidant, and all antioxidants prevent this reaction from O2 or with O2. Now, the problem here is that it doesn't really prevent a reaction from happening. What it does is that it sandwiches itself in this lipid bilayer, and this lipid bilayer houses vitamin E, and vitamin E is easier to react with. So easier to react with. And if O2 comes into the picture, then this oxygen is going to react with the vitamin E first, and it doesn't react with the lipids that are in that membrane. So it saves the lipids off. It's kind of like a bodyguard. Right, the vitamin E is a bodyguard to the lipid bilayer, and the vitamin E is going to take the first shot if one's going to get fired. So if oxygen does come into the picture, vitamin E is there to prevent that. It is kind of the first lineup that begins to, the first infantry that begins to invade. And once the vitamin E is used up, then the O2 will then start reacting with the lipid bilayers and the lipids that are found in these cell membranes. And it begins to do their thing on them. So the vitamin E, if you have enough of it, it can maybe prevent some wrinkles. It can slow down the aging process, and there's other health benefits associated with the vitamin E as well. So that is something that you want to take a look at. And maybe if you are taking a multivitamin, multivitamins have all the vitamins that you need, but maybe you don't want a multivitamin. Maybe you want to just to pick and choose the vitamins that you think that you want. Vitamin E is typically the one to go to almost every single time. So vitamin E, it is a fat-soluble vitamin. That means it does get stored in your fatty tissue. It is not like some of these other vitamins where if you take it and you take too much, you actually urinate it out. It is not water soluble. It is fat soluble. You just got to be careful not to build up too much concentration of vitamin E. That could be bad as well, and that really stays true to all the vitamins that are out there on the market. If you are taking vitamins and you are taking vitamins that are fat soluble, you want to pay close attention to them because you can actually start increasing their concentrations too much, and that's bad news. The water soluble vitamins, if you're taking those, so for instance maybe vitamin B or a B family, you will tend to see sometimes your urine change to a dark orangey color or a reddish brown color. And if that begins to happen, that means that this is your body's way of taking that extra vitamin and flushing it out of your system. And it typically does turn urine a different color than what it should be. So don't be alarmed. If you are taking vitamin supplements and you're seeing a discoloration in the urine, then this is something that's traditionally common that you will often see over and over again. So a whole science is behind vitamins: fat soluble, water soluble. This is the one really that we focus on because it kind of relates to lipids at the moment, and it lets us get a better idea of what this whole term antioxidant is. You've probably often heard of antioxidants and food groups that are high in antioxidants. Well, these food groups that are high in antioxidants, well, that's why they're so special, because they're letting you know that oxygen reaction can happen, and these molecules or these foods that have high antioxidant levels are basically going to be your first line of defense. And it takes care of those oxygen reactions in the beginning, and that prevents maybe some lipid breakdown of your cell membranes or wherever those lipids are going to be found. Not only that, but if you take a look at vitamin E or some of the other vitamins, but vitamin E mainly, you're also going to see them added into food products as a preservative. So don't be surprised if you see vitamin E in a listing ingredient list for a food product. It helps slow down this aging process. It helps slow down the reaction with the oxygen, and because of that, it is classified as a preservative. And it's typically used in preservatives that are highly fat containing foods. So if you do have a very high fat content in the food that they want to preserve, then tocopherol or vitamin E is going to probably be listed on that ingredient list for you. So just like sodium benzoate back in the day when you worked with it, that was a food preservative. This is another alternative to a food preservative as well. So in the next video, we're going to kind of move on. We're not going to talk about phospholipids as much anymore, but now we're going to talk about something called a sphingolipid. And we're going to look at what a sphingolipid is, what kind of functional group does it have, how is it different, how is it common to all the other lipids that we've discussed so far. So stay tuned. It's very similar to what we've been doing, so if you've got an extra 10 or 15 minutes, don't stop now, because the next video will marry beautifully to these past couple of videos that we've talked about so far.